Hello, family, and welcome to another episode of Role Model Makers Experts Cafe. I'm your host, Dr. L, the Parent Whisperer, and today with me, I have an amazing lady. Her name is Miss Olivia Bergeron. Did I say that correctly,
You
Olivia?
did, yes.
Awesome, thank you. Olivia has been in our community, and I was fortunate enough to be able to kind of get her here and have her tell us a little bit more about herself and what she does. I think that it's pretty important for you guys to tune in and listen up, and please stop multitasking. Really pay attention to this. This is important stuff coming up. Olivia, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to be here today. Tell us a little bit more about what you do. I know that you're a social worker, clinical social worker, licensed social worker, right?
Yes,
And I want to have you talk about the specifics of it, what you do, and why this is important, why this is something that parents should kind of consider, have in the back of their mind, and not necessarily for themselves, but sometimes also for those around them, because that's equally important for us to serve our community as well.
absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to speak with you. So I've been helping clients for almost 20 years now, as both a psychotherapist and a parent coach. And I started out as a therapist, seeing general clients from ages 4 to 84. But when I had my own kids, my daughter was 2 and my twins were born. It occurred to me that there was a real dearth of support for parents and a real need for really targeted, specific help. And so I pivoted and I focused my practice on helping parents exclusively from pregnancy on through the teen years. Um, and so I find a lot of parents are struggling needlessly, that there are things that they can certainly do, but they often put themselves last on the list. And so parents, I think, really need to have that, to know, first of all, that it's okay to get help. I think it actually indicates a strength, not a weakness, to reach out and get the help they need. I think a lot of people feel ashamed or embarrassed, so I shouldn't need this, or other people are doing this just fine. What's wrong with me? And I really assure people that I think you're modeling to your child how important it is to get the help that you need.
You
Again,
took the
that's
words right out of my mouth. That was perfect.
excellent. Well, it's certainly not a deficit, I think, to acknowledge that, we all need help sometimes. And
Right.
so working as a psychotherapist, I think helping people with their anxiety, their depression, or just worries or struggles, day-to-day struggles. I had clients for some time, they would come back to me saying, I'm feeling fine now, but now I have children and my child is tantruming and I don't know how to handle that. Or I disagree with my partner about how to handle discipline or just the day-to-day interactions with our child. Or I know what not to do, but I don't know what to do. I don't want to replicate what I grew up with, for instance. If you had a parent that was very punitive, maybe used spanking or pretty harsh punishment. And unfortunately, people often revert to what they know. Even if you swore up and down, I never say that thing, I never do that thing. Lo and behold, out it pops when you're tired, when you've had a long day, when your child has worked your last nerve. So I think parent coaching can be really useful to having a North Star, kind of in your back pocket so that you know how to handle things when things do go south or sideways.
So I love the fact that you're touching on all of these points that could potentially be areas that could be improved. Uh, One of the things that I often find out is that parents get so wrapped up in the whole busyness of parenting and being responsible adults and everything that goes with to family life that sometimes they forget to be in touch with themselves and actually be aware of signs and symptoms they actually do need the help. So, can you help us a little bit, especially for our parents today, that they're busy and I want them to know what are some of the signs and symptoms that they need to be aware of that, this might be an indicator that I might need help, and then in whatever area it happens to be. Like, for instance, if I just go ahead and say, you know what, I don't feel all, positive today, that doesn't necessarily mean depression. So, what are the signs that somebody's actually anxious or depressed or might need additional help in the parenting community world? And so what are some of the things that parents need to be aware of before they start taking action?
I think whether it's somebody who wants therapy or parent coaching, I think if you've come to a point, not just for an afternoon or a day or a weekend, but if it's over a period of more than a couple of weeks, maybe stretching into a month, where things just feel hard, you're not as motivated, and it feels like there's no end in sight. I think folks that are struggling for any length of time. So it's not just, I liken it to, if it's, the sun is behind the clouds and you have the sense that the sun is still there, the clouds are there, they're going to pass away and tomorrow will be sunny. That's one thing. But if you feel like the sun is never going to come out, or you feel like this is just how it's always going to be, and I just need to resign myself to that, I think is when folks really need to reach out and get help, because they don't need to struggle. If no other takeaway message that folks get today, I hope that that's it. You don't need to struggle. You don't need to suffer. There is help out there, and there are things that you can do to feel better. And when I work with clients, I really stress, here's something that you can do today. When people come and see you, I'm sure when they come and see me, they want to feel better sooner rather than later. They want to feel better now, not in 9 months from now. And parents, as you said, are very busy. They have a lot on their plates. They need to feel that there's actionable steps that they can take right away. And so I think if you can give folks the hope that, okay, small things can make a huge impact. Of course, we'd all like to jump on a plane and go to Fiji for a week. Oftentimes, or I would say the vast majority of the time for parents, that's just not an option. But can they build in small things and do small things often? And I think if you are starting to build that kind of a repertoire, and I do stress self-care, that's the base of the pyramid. If you're not taking care of yourself, it's very difficult to take care of your child. And I think often parents kind of jump ahead and they think that, well, I need to put myself last on the list, or I martyr myself, or I don't have time to take care of myself. And I really push back against that, because I think people that are, going to the gym, drinking enough water, getting enough sleep or rest, or having fun sometimes, all those things are really essential components. And I think it is good modeling for your child. I think showing your child, you don't need to be a martyr. You don't need to put yourself last on the list, because if you do, they will too.
How many of you would like your kids to come last or put themselves last in a group of people, right? We would never give that
Right.
advice to them, right? And I think one of the mindset shifts for parents that needs to happen is that self-care, like you mentioned, is not yet another thing you have to do. It's an investment so you can get more done. So if you put it on a checklist, I don't think it serves you well. I think it needs to have its own checklist on top of your checklist, basically.
Well, sure.
So
And I think if you get into a habit of doing it, it becomes easier. If you're not doing
right.
it very much or at all, of course, getting started can feel like, oh, this is impossible. But that's why I really stress and start out with what's something you can do today. What's 5 minutes that you can take out of your schedule today and do something that you enjoy, that brings you pleasure. I think that's a great way to start getting the ball rolling.
Olivia, what are the most common challenges that families come to you with? What are some of the things that they complain about or they're struggling with?
Yeah, it runs the gamut. One common one is that I can't get my child to listen to me without yelling. And I will unpack that with parents, and we look at, well, is it because you've trained your child not to listen to you until you yell? In other words, do you yell across the room, or you talk to them without having their full attention? And just like if you were in the middle of reading something or writing an email or what have you, and someone starts to talk at you, you're probably not going to pay very close attention, and you might be irritated or annoyed. That's why I think having the presence of mind to go up to your child, put your hand on their shoulder, look them in the eye, wait until you have eye contact back, and then you start talking.
So those were like, guys, I want to make sure you guys caught that. That was fast but very powerful. Hand on the shoulder, eye contact, right? And face to face, not across the room. So very
Right.
good.
Yeah, and
Awesome.
that's just a way to make sure you have their attention, and then you don't have to repeat yourself, because repeating yourself is very annoying for everybody. And that already sets you off gets you off on the wrong foot.
Right. So you actually brought up a really good point, because I do understand that repetition is key for many kids and for us in the learning process. But that's different than what you just described as far as repeating yourself, as in instructions and guidelines, and not instructions, but what do you call it? Um, Commands, for lack of a better word that doesn't come to my mind. But you're giving directives, and directives need to be paid attention to, as opposed to instructions, which is something that you might forget an instruction. You can go through the training process until you learn.
Yeah, I think it's a really valuable point, and that, of course, you're going to need to repeat yourself sometimes, and
Right.
that's why kind of repeating the expectations early and often but it's how you do it. It's how you roll it out. Again, if you're yelling at your child across the room and you don't have their attention, and then you have to repeat yourself so many times because they're tuning you out, or you've trained them not to listen to you until you raise your voice, that I think is detrimental for everybody. But of course, you're going to have to repeat yourself with your child to remind them. Put your shoes on. Did you have your shoes on? That kind of a thing is understandable. But again, I think it's the way that it's done.
And so what would be your tip regarding avoiding that whole repetition thing?
Well, like I said, I think making sure you have their attention first.
Got it.
And I think if you are, giving instructions and your child gets off track or off task, gently reminding them, bringing them back into the fold, reminding them, okay, what's the goal here? What are you supposed to be doing right now? And all this being done in a gentle, empathic way. I don't think you have to be punitive or angry or harsh, certainly, because I think that automatically, brings the walls up to your child and they start to tune you out even more. If your child knows that you're on their side, if your child feels that, you're of course, you're the one that's in charge, but they feel like, we're working together, we're not on opposite sides, that really goes a long way, because then, of course, they want to please you. They want to follow your lead. They want to follow your directions. If they feel like, we have a warm, close relationship, I don't want to endanger that.
Olivia, I like how you actually pose uh, the instruction in the form of a question without the answer, meaning that it helps the child think for themselves and focus and get focused. It was like, oh yeah, what am I supposed to be doing, or what should I be? And instead of just giving up, why don't you put your shoes on, which is a completely different thing, and it doesn't involve the kid other than them doing what you just told them. And that critical thinking and being able to think for yourself and problem solve is really, really important. So what age group do you usually see come to you for support as far as kids are concerned?
For kids, usually it's the toddler years on through the teen years.
Okay.
Of course, the help that people need can vary over time. Certainly, the issues that they're having with their kids, will vary. But at its core, the basic instruction, the basic guidance that I provide is the same, and that's really making sure that you're connecting with your child first. That you are not just, like I said, if you want to ensure that they listen to you, that they pay attention to what you're doing, you have to do the preventive maintenance work to make sure that your relationship is strong.
Got it. Awesome. And how can people find out more about you, what you do, and things like that?
Sure. So easiest way to reach me is through my website, mommygroove.com. That's GROOVE, not Grove, but Groove. That's a great way to reach me. You can email me through there or contact me or just learn a bit more about me there.
Awesome. Yeah, as Olivia mentioned, guys, I want to make sure that you go to the description box below and click on it. She has actually given me a lot more links about how to connect with her. Different people connect differently. So I want to make sure, pick your favorite, connect with Olivia, role model the behavior that it is okay to ask for help, that we don't have to have all the answers. And the world is not a big, scary place, but actually one where there's good people in it and they want to help us and support us and see us succeed. And it's important for our kids to feel that way as well. If you haven't already done so, make sure that you click subscribe and like so that we get notified and you get notified of all the recent videos and the experts that come in here sharing their gifts and their expertise with you. Olivia, thank you so much once again for being here. Any final words for our audience members before we finish today?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I just want to stress for parents that there is help out there, that they're not alone, that there's no need to struggle.
Well said. Yeah, especially if you feel like this cloud is never going to move, that is a sign. Definitely, definitely connect with Olivia. I appreciate it. Until next time. Cheers.